Welcome to the DTC Insider podcast, where online business owners come to find actionable tips and tactics to grow their businesses. Now, here's your host, Brian Roisenthal.
Hey, welcome to another episode. I am Brian Roisenthal, your host, and today I'm super excited to welcome Mathieu Mireault, co-founder and CMO of DermaDry, the at-home anti-sweat device for hands, feet, and underarms. Hey, Mathieu, thanks for being on the show.
Great pleasure. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, and what a coincidence. We were talking offline before hitting record that, I'm from Argentina and your mother is too, right?
Yes, Argentinians are great people. It's a great place to be.
Yeah, and from Cordoba, which is for those who are not familiar with Cordoba, is like a state or province in Argentina. It's pretty cool, pretty unique, with some unique like drinks or beverages, unique music styles. Like it's super fun, super fun.
Yeah. No, I went there a couple of times, and every time, the thing that amazes me the most is how people are nice in Argentina. Everybody's so friendly. Everybody wants to help you, and the concept of bubble, where you here in North America, like, don't get too close to me. You're in my bubble. In Argentina, that does not exist. Everybody's in each other's bubble. Everybody's hugging. Everybody's touching.
Yeah,
Argentina is a great place to be and to learn from those people because they're
yeah,
truly wonderful people.
we thank you. We kiss a lot here. We kiss like in the cheek,
Yeah.
of course, not weird things, but yeah. So, but we have wikis, like we are very open, and uh, but I have a client from the States that he after before the pandemic he came down here to live, and I was saying like you're crazy, like we want to go live in the States and you want to come live in Argentina. He said, dude, I'm super happy here, and I even the cable guy, the technical person from the cable company, he came to install this and invited me to play a soccer game, with friends, and like it was like everyone is so kind, so open. It's like I'm full of friends, full of so yeah, it's something people say from us, and I appreciate that.
It's a special place for sure. I would recommend everybody to go.
Yeah. So yeah, anyways, so why don't you tell the audience more about you and DermaDry?
Great. So my story is a very similar story to a lot of people, I'm sure. I am here in Montreal, Canada, which is the francophone part of Canada. I went to high school, CEGEP, university. I did a master's in marketing, and I was in a bar with one of my friends, and my friend was saying, "Hey, Matt, I think I'm going to launch a business. I have cured my sweaty hands." And then I'm like, what? You have sweaty hands? The first time he ever told me about this, and like, what? You're gonna start a business about sweaty hands? This is so weird. So I don't know if it was the alcohol or the music, but I said, you know what? I'm in. Let's do it. And we started a business really to treat excessive sweating based on a technology called iontophoresis. What is iontophoresis? Where does it come from? So basically, just to give you a bit of a backstory, my friend who had sweaty hands, he tried everything to treat his sweaty hands. He put deodorants on his hands. He wanted to try oral medication, but the problem with that is that it's not only your hands that become dry, but it would be your whole body. And he finally found a solution that's called iontophoresis. It is kind of odd to describe. Basically, you put your skin in contact with water and electricity. And basically, the electricity is going to kind of disrupt the connection between the nerve and the sweat gland. So you won't be sweating anymore, which kind of seems weird to a lot of people, I'm sure, to found a business on this. But for people who have sweaty hands, such as my co-partner, it's really the only thing you think about. So he would start his business meetings with friends or with colleagues. And the first thing you do is, you have to grab somebody's hand. You need to shake people's hand. So the first moment before, so the first thing, the first impression that you give, he was so afraid. He was so stressed out. So you could understand how that would really foreshadow the whole meeting. So he was uncomfortable giving the hand, and then the whole meeting would think like, did he realize that my hands were sweaty? Is he still thinking about my clammy hands? And it really, really, really had a huge impact on his work life, as I mentioned, on his love life, of course, because every time you would meet a girl and he would need to hold their hand or give them a hug, he would also think about, is she going to realize that I'm sweaty and anxious, etc. And finally, yeah, please go ahead.
Oh, I want to interrupt you for a sec before I lose it, and my apologies, but it's what you just said, it's genius, and I want to break it down in 1 minute. So for everyone listening to this or watching, this right here is marketing in its purest form. And I'll explain why or why I think it is. He's not just saying, my friend started this because he has sweaty hands. Sweaty hands are, the external thing he's experiencing. How is it making him feel? The situations he's putting him on, or the how uncomfortable he is, how insecure it makes the person, holding the hand of this girl or guy, or being in a meeting, the handshake, the first impression you give someone. That's the exact reason why people take action on anything. So if you are doing an ad, a video, or organic content, and say, in this case, hey, you have sweaty hands, nobody's going to pay attention. But if you talk about how people feel, this is really important right here. So what you just said, without noticing or with, consciously, it's a masterclass on, how to market something, and the importance of the why behind the apparent reason that is actually not.
Yeah. So basically, it's the first time anybody said I did when I spoke was a masterclass. So thank you so much about that. I appreciate it. So basically, it really affected his whole life. It was really problematic for him, and because so basically why he started the business was because he had such a big problem, and we realized that there was clearly a market because it had such a big impact on his life. If for him it didn't really bother him, well, we wouldn't have started this because we had known, okay, it's not that important. So because for him it had such a big impact, we knew we were going to be able to change a lot of people's lives. And for us, the bigger the impact, the bigger the business potential was there. So we said to ourselves, you know what, let's do this. It's going to take 6 months. We're going to be on the market. And we're maybe 25, 26. We were so naive. We thought in 6 months we were going to be in the market. It actually took I think it almost took like 3 years for us to be on the market. So we started in 2016, and the machine officially was cleared by Health Canada in 2019. So this is also something I like to say, that if we knew how hard it would be, we would never have done it. But so it's like you need to be very naive and optimistic to go in business, because it's always going to be so much harder than you think. So if you don't have that kind of the grit, the resilience, it's not even worth it. You need to expect the worst, and that's not even as hard as it's going to be. So a bit of foreshadowing. It's never easy, but once you get to the top of the mountain, once you accomplish what you did, you're going to be so much more happier the harder it is.
Real quick, before we continue with the episode, let me tell you something. If you own or work for a DTC brand and you're not hitting your revenue and profitability goals, you're not alone. Things are getting harder, and what used to work doesn't anymore. That's why it's important to find a business-oriented partner that's focused on improving the levers that will change the game for your business. And believe me, it is possible. At BSR Digital, to give you an example, we have recently helped our clients generate between, listen well, 80 and 700K in extra monthly revenue. If you'd like to explore how we could do the same for you and your business, head on over to bsrdigital.com and book a call with us. Exactly. It's worth it. I mean, if you're doing something you're passionate about and the mission is worth it for you, if you're helping someone with something, it makes it the effort worthwhile, and it's satisfying. But entrepreneurs, all of us are crazy, and it's the way always people say, if we knew what we were getting into, we would have never done it. So 100%. So in this case, I don't know if you define your company as a medical company, but in that case, So you have a medical company in the DTC space. That's not something I hear every day. So what does it feel like? Is it an advantage? Is it not?
Yeah, it's a great advantage. Basically, all the co-founders, we come from an e-commerce background. And for us, it just was the most natural thing in the world to open up a Shopify store, put our products on Shopify, start selling directly to our consumers. Every time we talk to our partner, outside partner, or a bank, for them, it's like, no, you're selling medical product. You need to be a business to business, B2B. But for us, like, why would you want to have a middleman that takes your margin? Why don't you want to have a direct link to your client so you could gather more information, learn more about them, and have a quicker cycle of innovation because you're in direct contact with the consumer. So for us, since day one, it was very, very clear. And actually, we did not even think there wasn't any other way to be direct to a consumer. So the really interesting thing is that I feel like in the more recent years, there's like this kind of concept of like having a boring business. People are like, no, don't go into tech, don't go into Silicon Valley. Businesses that make real money without risks are boring companies such as cleaning homes or like trash companies and stuff like that, because people who are in that market are usually older generation. They don't know how to do marketing. So if you are young, savvy, and know how to do online marketing, you're just gonna demolish them. And in our case, that was exactly what happened. All our competitors did not even know what was a Google ad. All our competitors had no idea what was Facebook. So when we came to the market, pay for clicks for Google for any types of searches to hyperhidrosis machines, excessive sweating, hyperhidrosis, it was so cheap, dirt cheap. Same thing for Facebook. We were able to do ads at such a low cost. So this is also a great example of like boring businesses where you don't have much competitors. It's really an amazing thing to do because you really have such an advantage if you know how to use Google, if you know how to use Facebook. And this is a really stupid example, but I follow these people online who say like, go do a boring business, such as cleaning driveways, because if you call people who clean driveways, nine times out of 10, they'll never answer a call back. So if you're just a business who does things correctly, you will beat most of business in these types of areas. So one day I was looking for something very specific for a machine. And I called like 10 companies who do medical devices, and nobody answered the phone. Nobody called me back. It was such a terrible experience. So if you just do an approach of DTC with boring businesses, you will demolish the market for sure.
What about you mentioned that there weren't many or almost any competitors doing what you were doing in the DTC space. Yeah. So do you think it would be easy for a competitor to, is it because of lack of companies, or is it because there aren't many companies doing what you do because it's hard to start a business like yours?
So there was about 6 competitors. There's still about 6 competitors in our space. They took the business model of selling via insurance. So more of a B2B kind of, so business to business approach. And that really left us a huge opening. So we were really able to aggressively come into the market, go not steal the competitors, but really be the most the approachable company. And we became that way the #1 hyperhidrosis provider in all of the world. But if somebody's listening to this podcast and says, hey, this seems like a great idea, hyperhidrosis doesn't seem that complicated, I'm going to steal their market, it's actually really, really hard. There's this concept called the moat. It's really promoted often by this almost guru in the DTC space. His name is Peter Thiel. He was one of the co-founders of PayPal, and he's done a lot of different things since. But one of the things he did that influenced a lot of people, he wrote a book called 0 to 1, where he says that the goal of every company is basically to be a monopoly. And when you are a monopoly, basically, well, you have much more advantages, your margins are better, etc. So in the book, he tells about the importance of a moat. And basically the moat is when you have a castle, the surrounding of the castle, the water, so that way your competitors or adversaries can't come into the castle. So in our case, our moat is called regulations, which is at the beginning, we hated them. It was so complicated becoming certified. It was so hard, so time consuming. It took so much money and investments. But now that we have these certificates, we are so happy because almost nobody could get in our space. We have this kind of a golden field where we can not basically do what we want, but we can expand really at our rate, because exactly, if somebody who wants to start selling an hydrophoresis machine, it's going to take years and years. But I don't want to say don't do it. What I'm saying is that really find a field that you're passionate in and try to make sure that you're able to build a moat around it. And one of these moats can definitely be regulations. So everything that is health certifications, everything that is product certifications, such as the GMP, so good manufacturing practice. Yeah, I think that is one of the best ways to build a long and durable business, is to have a good moat around you.
And talking about growing a business, yeah, I know that, many years ago, you achieved your first million in sales and you have grown a lot ever since, right? So I wanted to ask, which things do you remember being obsessed about when you were, trying to get to the first million, and which metrics or which things or areas of the business are you obsessed with these days?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the principal obsession of the business since the beginning was very consumer centric. We were big fans of Amazon and how their customer service was really amazing. And for us, as being people who almost exclusively buy online, I don't know about you, but I basically buy only on Amazon just because it gets to my home. I don't need to move. If I don't like it, I could return it very, very, very easily. I'm able to see reviews, and talking to Amazon, it's always like you feel that the customer is king. If something's not right with my order, they always give me a refund. So we really wanted to be consumer centric also because my colleague had this condition, hyperhidrosis, and we knew firsthand how impactful it could be on people. People who have hyperhidrosis are almost 20 times more prone to have severe anxiety, severe depressions, suicidal thoughts. And this is all things that we hear with our clients. So at the beginning, we didn't have much, anyways, liquidities to grow the business fast. We were always self-funded almost. So for us, the priority was, okay, we're going to build this slowly, but every time we do a sale, we need to make sure that the person who bought the machine is happy with the machine, and that it really has, the promise that we do, that we change the people's lives, we want to make sure that we fulfill it. So yeah, the first metric was customer service for sure. And the second was simply to be profitable, to be profitable, because we were self-funded. And if we were not able to be profitable, we would, I would need to basically live in the streets. So we didn't have any choice then to be profitable and to make sure that our bottom line was very well respected.
Is one of the main challenges these days, especially for low ticket brands, but across the board, I would say that it's one of the, more, let's say, common conversations that I'm having, more frequent conversations that I'm having, last year, this year, many were created post-COVID, and even those that were created pre-COVID were struggling a lot in the last few years. So it's, supply chain issues, recession, inflation, costs going up. So you name it, a million things. So in this case, how are you navigating those waters? How are you, achieving this profitability that you wanted?
Yeah, well, so I guess like a lot of businesses, and if you listen to a lot of business podcasts, and I'm sure you spoke to a lot of people who it was similar. So basically, when COVID hit, initially it was really bad for a business. It was kind of dreadful, working so hard. So that's kind of funny. We basically became FDA cleared, so we were able to sell in the US market early May. And we were like, this is going to change our lives. We finally made it. And basically 20 days later, the whole economy collapsed, everything closed, and we were not able to do anything. So we went from the king of the world, to on the bottom of the streets very, very quickly. But initially we were terrified, and afterwards, pretty quickly, we realized that COVID was really, really good for us. People were at home, and basically the only thing they could concentrate was like the little things. The little things was like, oh, I always wanted to treat my sweaty hands. Maybe now is the time because I have so much time on my hands. And so that was a big, big boost on business. At that point, we grew exponentially. We hired a lot. We got bigger offices, and basically, I think it's for sure a lesson that a lot of businesses need to go through. We started carrying on a lot of weight, and when interest rates went up, when people had much less side revenues because they didn't have any more money coming in because of government COVID funds, so less disposable income. So basically, we needed to make sure that we need to be profitable. And of course, we need to do some hard decisions. And since that point, we promised to ourselves, every time we hire someone, we need to make sure that he brings, at least twice his salary. Every time that we buy stock, we need to make sure that we buy, only the strict necessary. So 3 months in advance, 6 months in advance. Whereas before, when my money was piling in, it was, you don't even look anymore at how much money you're spending. So it was kind of a humility lesson. And now we are much closer to our money. We're much closer to our spending columns and our Excel sheets. And it's a good lesson to learn now because we're still very early in the business before we become too big, because it leaves marks, it leaves almost physical marks on yourself of like, oh my God, I can't believe how close, we never went close to bankruptcy, of course, but it's not a good feeling to know that you need to lay certain people off. It's not a good feeling to know that all the money you spend on stock, well, now it's going to be sleeping downstairs and you're not selling as fast as you want. So one of the ways to reduce stress, of course, is just learning to spend your money much better. And advertising, oh my God, Facebook. Facebook is a huge thing.
I was going to ask you about that. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so you were, I don't know if you were built on Facebook, but you leverage Facebook ads a lot, especially in the beginning, right? So,
Yeah.
and it was really cheap. Google ads, Facebook ads, as you said in the beginning, it was really cheap. But what does it look like now? Are you moving out of it? Is it still your main revenue driver, biggest spender, etc.?
Yeah, so at the start of the business, we would like to say that we were almost a Facebook agency more than anything else, just because we would spend so much money on Facebook. But during COVID, Facebook was like a money maker. It was, you would put $1 into Facebook and Facebook would give you back in sales $20, $30, $40. It was so easy to spend money on Facebook and make money simply because everybody was in front of their computer. A lot of businesses decided to cut spending. So companies that would continue to spend, the CPM was much lower. So it was really easy to do Facebook marketing, Google marketing, etc. But then, of course, with the iOS update where you can do remarketing anymore, that really disrupted our business completely. From almost, in 1 month, we needed to rethink how the business worked. And Facebook, from being the place where we spent the most money, now it's basically almost nothing. And these are one of the things, of course, that force us to be much more close to our money, understand our spending, etc. So instead of having a lot of paid ad, now we try to do a lot of organic. So via influencers, via TikTok, via YouTube Shorts. And we realized that initially we thought that our business was going to be really hard because we couldn't spend on Facebook anymore. But very quickly realized that these alternatives such as TikTok worked very, very well. Influencers worked very, very well. So no, we're really happy about where we are. I feel like the business has never been in a better health. So we're thrilled with the direction of the business right now.
2 comments I have about that. The first one, for those listening or watching, they have like 15,000 subscribers on YouTube, but correct me if I'm wrong, it's been a while since the last long form video they recorded. It's like 4 or 5 years. And then all they do these days is shorts. Is that correct? Please
That's
tell me why
absolutely.
it happened and why did you decide to stop the long form and keep the short form, and how does it help your business?
Because long form videos are so much work to do. No, I'm just kidding. So the real reason is simply because we started doing videos on TikTok when it started being popular during COVID, and we realized that TikTok is maybe the most impressive tool of all times to have organic reach. It is simply phenomenal how one video can become viral and then your whole account blows up. And we were like, we have all this amazing content on TikTok. We need to repurpose it on other platforms. And Google started doing YouTube Shorts. We started posting them on our YouTube Shorts. And I strongly believe that maybe this is going to sound conspirational, but I think that Google still wants to really compete towards TikTok. So they're promoting their YouTube Shorts. They're making sure that if you do good content, the content is going to be seen. So once we started putting the YouTube Shorts, our account really exploded as well. Whereas our long form videos, which of course takes a lot of time, didn't have that same type of impact. So we just learned to maximize our time with how can we, with the least amount of effort, have the biggest impact, and for sure it's TikTok and YouTube Shorts.
TikTok, are you talking about organic or ads too, or TikTok shop as well?
So it's kind of sad because we're a Canadian business. Canada currently does not have TikTok shop. It's only in the United States and North America. But also as a medical device, we would not be able to sell on TikTok shop. But organic, we do some ads, of course, but we have found that the ads has much less impact because people very quickly see that it's an ad, so they're going to scroll up. Whereas when it's organic and organically promoted by TikTok, of course, it can have such tremendous impact. Sometimes we post a video, you don't understand why, you say like, okay, this is not even a good video, and finally it's the video that goes viral overnight. You wake up and you have all these comments you need to respond, all these people that want to buy your product. So we started this business, we started selling in 2019. There was never a channel that allowed us to have so much sales and so quickly by just one viral video.
It's amazing that it's growing. Social commerce, whether it's organic, whether it's TikTok shop, whether it's ads, it's, I don't know if the future, but the other day I mentioned this on LinkedIn. I was listening to this very, very new and amazing podcast that I love. It's called Awesome, ASOM. You know, it's like many cool people on there. It's like John Roman. He's the CEO of BattleBox, an amazing brand in the US. Jimmy Kim, the founder and CIO of Lane, is like Klaviyo's main competitor. Then we have Brian McDonald, sorry, he's like, I think CMO of a brand. And then we have an agency owner that designs like Shopify stores for Billie Eilish and like Rihanna and many, amazing celebrities and brands as well. So they all put their perspectives together. And recently, in the latest episode, at least at the date of this recording, they were saying something like, people want to buy when they are at, and that's something we know, but we can reimagine that. Like, I'm watching a Netflix TV show, a Netflix series, let's say, and it's like, oh, I love the T-shirt that this actor is wearing. Buy, right? I don't have to go to the website. Like it almost like even thinking about it feels like slow, like wasting time, like going to the, it's like, I want that, I'm browsing YouTube now. Harley Finkelstein, another Canadian, the founder of Shopify, or not the founder, well, the CEO of Shopify, he announced the other day the partnership with YouTube, and now you can buy directly using Shopify checkout while watching a YouTube video, right? So it's the experience right in the moment. It's not on the e-commerce. So what you are doing now feels like a different channel, but you will be probably the future that will come next.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, talking about the message, the ads, because again,
Yeah.
if we talk about a fashion, an apparel and fashion brand, skincare brand, we kind of imagine some of the TikToks or ads we see. In this case, what do you do? Because I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that your audience, they have a condition, and I think they might not be as comfortable as somebody who doesn't have a condition to talk about it. I don't know if it's a taboo thing or not, but how do you overcome that, and how do you talk to them in a way that they engage with your ads and, of course, then buy?
Yeah, and that's a great question because hyperhidrosis, so excessive sweating, is often mentioned in the scientific literature, so the health literature, as the taboo condition. Because people who have sweaty hands, feet, or underarms, they don't talk about it to anyone. So we decided very early on that one of the main purposes of the business was going to be to break the taboo on hyperhidrosis. So the way that we talk about it is usually either with humor, because of course humor is one of the ways to break a taboo, but also with a lot of sensitivity, because we know how difficult it can be to have this condition. So one of the main things we do is get influencers to talk about their condition. And once somebody opens the conversation, then you see in the comments, for example, people talking about their situation. Oh, I had the same problem. Oh, this is how it impacted me. And that is a really powerful thing, just to open the conversation. One of the other ways that we do to open the conversation is to do a scholarship around excessive sweating. So we, for example, we invite right now students who have excessive sweating to tell us about their experience with hyperhidrosis, and we post it on our YouTube channel. Last year, we had tremendous people tell us about their stories. We had this person who was an airplane pilot who wanted to go to the army. And maybe, well, I didn't know this at the time, so maybe you don't know about this, but being an airplane pilot is actually, in the army, it's actually one of the hardest things you could do. And he passed all the tests. It was like his life goal. And just when he was like ready to become an Air Force pilot, because of his sweaty hands, he was denied. And he did his whole life sacrifices just because of this. So it was really a beautiful thing just to learn more about these students. So what we want to do really is open up the conversation. But regarding ads specifically, we just, it's the classic ad structure where we talk about the problem, show the solution, and have a call to action. And when it's more in the organic context where we, with humor, with sensitivity, and with the authentic content, that we try to open up and break the taboo of hyperhidrosis.
What's next for DermaDry? Anything exciting you can share with the audience?
Oh my God. What is next for DermaDry? Well, there's numerous things. We are trying every day to become more known because, as you know, hyperhidrosis, I'm sure you don't know that word. A lot of people just don't know that you can sweat too much and it can be a condition. The first step, of course, is learning that you have a condition. The second one is to tell people that iontophoresis, which is also a big word, is probably the best solution for you. So the next step is always awareness. Try to people to get to learn more about our solution. And in the pipeline, we have two very exciting projects that sadly I can't talk about, but hopefully 2025, 2026, you'll be hearing much more of DermaDry.
Amazing. And we can do this again and we can talk about those
Yeah, exactly.
next. That would be
Exactly. Yeah.
great. So
Hopefully
before we,
with a glass of Fernet.
yeah, so before we go, do you have any, well, you mentioned one, any book you
Yeah.
love that you want to share with the audience. We always put together, for those who are listening to this or watching this, why not, and are not aware of this, we put a list of books mentioned here in the show every year. So it started as a selfish questions because I wanted to know read next, and I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I started getting ideas from the awesome people I interview here, such as yourself. So do you happen to have any? You mentioned 0 to 1. It's by the
Yeah.
founder of PayPal. Probably that's the one, or you have another one.
I have another one. So basically, there's such good books out there. I like a lot of the people here. I'm sure they read a lot of autobiographies, a lot of history books, a lot of business books. But one of the books that really last year almost transformed my life, it's called Breathe, from the author James Nestor. And he basically tells us that we have lost our innate learning on how to breathe. And the first question you need to ask yourself, when you sleep at night, do you breathe by your mouth or your nose? And most people breathe by their mouth, sadly. And this has tremendous impact on your health, on your mental capacity, on the way that you interact with people during the day. So I would really recommend Breathe, the book from James Nestor. And I promise you, it will change your life. It's a tremendous book.
That's a new one. I didn't have that one, and 0 to 1 as well. So I love that we have 2 new books to add to the list. So where can people go to learn more about you and DermaDry?
So dermadry.com, that is really the best place to go. If not, we have Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, of course, and YouTube, all under the username DermaDry. And if you have this condition, hyperhidrosis, it's very important that number one, you realize that there are solutions out there. Maybe DermaDry is not the correct one for you, but you do not have to have your life ruined by excessive sweating. There are so many solutions. Find the one that's right for you and start living the way that you want to live.
So for anyone listening to this or watching, everything that he mentioned, everything we discussed, including the topics and the social handles, and of course the website, they're going to be at the DTCinsider.com. When you find the episodes, we will have all the show notes with that information there. Mathieu, it was amazing to have you here. You delivered so much value. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much. Muchas gracias.
This episode was brought to you by BSR Digital. We help DTC brands grow through paid ads and email marketing campaigns. If you'd like us to help your business grow, head on over to bsrdigital.com and schedule a call with us.